Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek, and welcome to Day 7 of my 31 Days of Halloween Reviews. Today I'm going to be looking again at a television show, or it's actually a cartoon, an animated series, but normally I won't do this. Normally I'll try and vary it up a little bit and not do two of the same media back to back, but just because of my schedule and the way things are working out, and it's a little more difficult to have a quiet moment to get over to my office where I have the set up to look at graphic novels and such. So there might be some Thursdays and Fridays this month where we do back-to-back television series or films or whatever. So that's the case today. We will be returning to a graphic novel tomorrow, so fear not. Today I want to talk about the XMen, the animated series, a great classic show from the 90s that's typically thought of as the best XMen series that's been out there. It's loved by many, not just for nostalgia's sake, although that's certainly you hear that theme song, and if you were a child like I was at that time, it just it takes you right back. It's very powerful. So great, just great theme song, but it's also very well done, the whole series, and it was a little ahead of its time in the level of maturity of the storyline. I mean, it wasn't like anything inappropriate for children, but it was really delved into some adult themes, as only the X-Men universe can. Specifically, I want to talk about Season 4 and episode, I think it was 22, maybe? It was the episode entitled Bloodlines, which is, I guess you would call it the Halloween episode of X-Men, or at least a Halloween episode here, even though, well, I'll explain it. Even though the episode doesn't really delve too much into Halloween, it takes place on Halloween. So, there's that. It is officially a Halloween episode, and it merits talking about, but I'll get into more of a specific discussion about that in a moment. But first, I just want to talk about the setup here. So X-Men, of course, if you do just even if you know nothing about X-Men, even if you've never seen a film, if you spend just a mere 5 minutes researching them, you'll quickly learn that they were created, influenced by the civil rights movement, and the race and integration, desegregation and stuff like that, and the racial issues of the 60s. But not just race, of course, as well. You've got people, any kind of disenfranchised group. You can relate to the X-Men if you are discriminated against via whether it's race, sex, sexual orientation, whatever. And that's an important aspect of the X-Men. It's a good one to be explored, and it should be. But it always bothers me when people just kind of stop there, or they act like that is the sole purpose of the X-Men, to explore those themes, and that's it, because I think that does a disservice. You don't want to reduce a story to that. The X-Men aren't an allegory. They're a piece of art, and they can be seen as a metaphor for those issues, absolutely, and they do so very well, but they can also be seen as a metaphor for much deeper personal, individual types of things, and I think that's what this episode proves. So it starts out, you don't really have to know the entire drama of the entire series to enjoy this episode, or really any episode, honestly. It does a good job of kind of giving you a general gist of what's going on. I mean, there is a general story arc, not even over seasons, but over the entire series, of the fear and anxiety of human beings, of the mutants, and of all these different things that take place, and different movements, and the centuries, and all these kind of things that are coming against the mutants. At this point in the series, you've got the Friends of Humanity that were recently thought to have not been conquered. Creed, their founder, was imprisoned, and he's out of prison now. So it is illegal to discriminate against the mutants. There's a desegregation of schools. The show starts with a news article about police having to escort mutants into high schools to be integrated with normal, with humans as well. So there's obviously echoes of the desegregation of racial schools and stuff like that back then. So that theme is there. It doesn't try to ignore that at all. And it starts out with that kind of idea, but it doesn't stop there. It shortly goes to the X-Men mansion there. It's Halloween night, and Wolverine is on candy duty. I can't imagine a worse choice than Wolverine to be on duty to hand out candy to children. And surely enough, he's horrible. He's scaring the children away. He's very unhappy with this idea of Halloween. And Jubilee approaches him and what's the deal? Why are this is just Halloween. You're giving kids candy. What's the big deal? And Wolverine's very upset, and he says something that is kind of deep, and it's going to resonate throughout the rest of the series. He says, "I'm angry because everyone dresses up as their favorite monster or creature, and in many cases mutants. And a lot of the mutants are seen like Beast, even like Wolverine to a certain extent, but like Nightcrawler, a lot of mutants look like monsters or beasts or demons to humans. So people get to dress up, children get to dress up as that and have a little fun being like that for one night, but then the next day they get to take off that mask and not suffer any of the consequences. And he's basically like, when do I take off my mask, and when do I get to escape the discrimination and all that kind of stuff. So, and the fear and everything. So that's a really interesting and profound problem to have with the holiday. You can imagine that. And again, you can see the correlation between that and race, but we're going to go deeper, I promise. So shortly after that, and I am going to well, you know what? I'm just going to ruin the episode for you. It's still fun to watch. It's 30 minutes. If you're an X-Men fan, or if it sounds interesting to you, you'll watch it anyway. It's quite good. And I'll try and save some stuff, so it's not going to be, all of the surprises spoiled. But Nightcrawler shows up shortly thereafter, and someone has sent his birth mother has sent him a letter. He's never met his birth mother, didn't even know she was alive. If you know the comics or you know the show before or whatever, it's a pretty known fact who his birth mother is, but he doesn't know till a certain point in his life. So he doesn't even know she's alive yet, but the handwriting matches the note she left for him when she left him. So, as a baby. So the notes from his mother saying, "You must come to me here, but come alone or they'll kill me." He doesn't know who has his mother. He doesn't know what kind of danger she's in. He doesn't know why they want him at all. And this is all playing into a scheme of the Friends of Humanity. I won't go into all that stuff. That's interesting to watch. So he goes to the X-Men for help because they're more experienced in this kind of thing. So it is Wolverine, Jubilee, and Rogue that go with him to this place, and they're trying to break out his mother. They hear his mother calling from the compound from this room, and Nightcrawler, teleports in. Rogue busts through the door. Rogue's with him at this point. And if you don't know already, Mystique was the adopted mother of Rogue. And she says something like, say something about your brother. And then you realize in the big news is that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mother. Again, old news to fans of the X-Men, but that was the big deal. So Mystique was Nightcrawler's birth mother. She later went on to adopt Rogue, and and I'll leave the rest of that drama for you to find out on your own. But it's very interesting that Nightcrawler, this revelation to him, and he asks her later, after during the climax battle and stuff like that, and all this stuff takes place. He asks her, he goes and stops her from running away, and she's, "Don't hurt me. What do you want from me?" And he says, "I just want the truth." Nightcrawler is a brilliant, brilliant character. He's not an angry mutant. He's not Wolverine. He's got these wonderful, interesting, unique powers, and he's got such a really cool look, but he's a devout Catholic in all of the good translations of the X-Men universe. This is an icon. This is a core part of his character. And in the X-Men animated series, he's actually even a monk. I can't remember if he's a priest as well. I think he's just a monk. But so he's very devout and wears his faith on his sleeve. And she's shocked to find out that he's not mad. He wants the truth. He just never knew anything about his mother, didn't know why she abandoned him, and he wants the truth. So she takes a moment and tells him this story, how of course, she's got a longevity and everything. She doesn't live like normal lifespans or anything like that. So she's a shapeshifter. If you know anything about Mystique, she can take on the forms of anybody that she sees. And she's lived her life by passing as a human, by taking on different forms. And at one point, she marries an Austrian baron, I think it is. So she marries rich, and they have a wonderful life, and she's got all of this wealth. And she bears him a child, but of course the child ends up being a mutant because she's a mutant. And, it was a toss up there whether it was going to be mutant or human. And it's Nightcrawler, so it's a very obvious mutant. He's blue with the claw-like fingers and feet and the tail and everything. It's obviously a mutant. And that exposes her as being a mutant ultimately. And she abandons Nightcrawler so that she can go pass as another human and to start another life. And this is how she operates and how she survives. And there's a very poignant moment when she says, she's trying to kind of provoke him, and so I abandon you. You hate me now, don't you, or whatever. And he says, "No, I'm sad for you." And she gets mad at this, as people usually do when they find that they're forgiven and they haven't quite forgiven themselves. And she says, "I am a shapeshifter, an outcast, even among mutants, trusted by no one. I don't have a life of my own. I just steal little bits from other people's lives. But that's how I survive." And that's really the crux of the episode. So all we've had Halloween related in this episode is just that little scene in the beginning with them handing out candy to trick-or-treaters, and then it kind of just goes away from Halloween themes, you think. But if you look deeper and look into this aspect of the show and this idea of stealing pieces of other people to try and pass and survive and get by so they don't know how different you really are, there's a deep resonance of that just in human psychology. Yes, certainly for people who have some sort of outward difference, whether it's, like I said, race, sex, sexual orientation, religion, certainly, as well. And, so whether you have something like that sets you apart and you deal with being the other, in that respect, or if it's just your individual insecurities and own fears and anxieties and stuff like that. So that's where I'd like to take this a little bit, because Halloween, tying it to the holiday, and I think it's brilliant to have Halloween be the setting for this kind of story. We mentioned before, I think, just the last video yesterday in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer video, talked about how Halloween is a great culturally accepted holiday where you get to try being somebody different, and how great that is, and how much fun that is, and you get to try to be like that person you've always wanted to be. But the real trick is to try and find that element of that person already within yourself and integrate it more fully. That's the real trick. So here, I'd just like to broaden that a little bit. Halloween is it's a cultural tell, an indicator of a culture's fears, of a culture's aspirations. If you look at any given year and what the most popular Halloween costumes are, in fact, my friend Chris Moe, I often pitch he's doing a 31 Days of Halloween vlog as well, and he's doing it on more broad Halloween topics, and he's great. He's far more entertaining than I am, and hilariously funny. So I've linked to his channel here, but I'm linking to a specific video up there in the cards as well, in which he gave the most popular costumes of this year, statistically or everything. Last year, I think it was Harley Quinn. Obviously, that makes sense. This year, the most popular one, I think, is Pennywise, which does make sense, of course, because it is out, and it is not just because it's a popular movie, but because it is tapping into a deep-rooted fear we have of the uncanny, just in our psychology. So that's a great thing there. So to dress up as that, to try and recontextualize that fear in a way that we can understand, even kind of have fun with it, get a little catharsis out of it, and not be so terrified like the clown apocalypse, over last year or whatever. So that's a popular costume that tells a lot about culture at the time. Wonder Woman's another popular one. You can imagine young girls wanting to feel empowered and to dress as her. A giraffe, for some reason, was a popular one too. And I didn't understand that either, but our friend, Big Al, said that maybe that's because of the popularity of that video feed where they were waiting and watching for the giraffe to be born at a zoo or something that was recent. I don't know. I didn't follow that, but I remember hearing something about it. And, so something that people were fascinated with or just interested in, and maybe that represents, new life or continuing on or whatever. I don't know, but you've got these subconscious reasons that people choose for costumes. But if you take all of that kind of indicator that Halloween is for culture, and if you apply it to your own personal individuality, and this is what the XMen are so great for, and in this context of Halloween, it's perfect, because you think of Mystique's little speech there. There are some of us more than others, depends on your insecurity level about things, but yeah, to survive in the world, to not feel so much less than others, to not be consumed by your insecurities, you do take little pieces of other people sometimes and act like them. You mimic this or you mimic that, and you do a million things in one day that are not in any way true to yourself, and you're not really being who you are. You're not even necessarily being who you want to be. You're being who you think you need to be in order to get by, in order to not bring attention, or in order to not be ostracized, in order to not feel pain from one way or another. And you can take all of this and apply it to yourself to whatever degree and to whatever level, because everybody deals with this on some level. So you do take from other people, and you think about, just like we can think about Halloween costumes, you think about what terrifies you. What are the things that really terrify you, and what could they represent? Why are these the things? Why, what link is this to you and your own experience and your own self-perception? Why do they scare you? And then think about the things you want to be, linking to the costumes one might wear, to relate to or identify with. What are the things you want to be, and why is that? And you really spend a little bit of time reflecting here. And it goes back to what I said in yesterday's video, that the trick is to find those elements within yourself that are already there, because they are already there if you want to be something. If you're afraid of something, there's even an element of that within you as well, that you're afraid of. So embracing your whole self, embracing your shadow self, embracing your super ego, as we would say in Freudian terms, but really embracing all of the parts of yourself and finding an integrated balance. And that's how you grow. That's how you do become more of those things you want to be. And that's how you don't let those things you fear rule you. And you don't let other people and their perceptions rule you. You can truly grow and become a more full person and a more full mutant, quote unquote, if you will, because that's what the X-Men are so good at teaching us. So got a little deep in this episode. Sorry about that. I won't do that every time, but I just love it when superhero stories, especially, and certainly Halloween related stories, can tell us so much about ourselves and reflect on the profound nature of the human experience in these ways. And this is just a children's cartoon, but if you just spend a little time thinking about it, you can pull this great stuff out of it. So a lot of fun. As I said, tomorrow, returning to a graphic novel. I've got a really great one in store for you. So do come back for that. It'll be a real treat. And, lots more to come the entire month. We're only on day 7 and it is 31 days of Halloween reviews. So much more to come. Do please check out my friend Chris Moe, his vlog as well. You do these daily vlogs. They're a lot of work actually, but they're fun. You don't do them if they're not fun. But, people are busy. They don't always get a chance to watch every single day, your friends and stuff like that. So anytime you can give it a view and a like or whatever, mine, his, and anybody else who does these, it's always much appreciated. And until tomorrow, integrate yourselves and keep enjoying and digging deeper into the superhero and Halloween stories you love. Thanks for watching.